We drink tequila. We talk.
Welcome to Team Tequila Talks.
All right, ready? Hello, everybody, and welcome to Team Tequila Talks. We are here with another episode, and we are so privileged to have Hollywood tequila royalty, Rachel Gonzalez. If you guys have seen anything with Casamigos in the news, in press, on any of the gossip websites, on Instagram, really anywhere, then you've seen Rachel. And I think that Casamigos is involved in every IT event in Hollywood. You guys even put on some of the IT events in Hollywood. See the
You've been to a
Casamigos
lot of them.
Halloween party.
Luckily, you're always somewhere near me or behind me or around me in all these events and stuff. You're just a supporter over here.
Well, Cassandra will find any tequila,
Good tequila.
any good tequila, and be right near, around, upside down near you.
That is correct. And we are also very lucky to have from the House of Strong, Mark Strong back with us.
I am here and well.
Thank goodness. Do you think it's because of all the tequila drinking?
Yes, all of the tequila.
He's glowing.
All the things.
He's glowing.
That might have something to do with it.
Yes.
It's excellent for the skin.
So today I actually have on my Casamigos headphones. Can you guys see?
Which I cannot believe because I have not seen our headphones like that in like years, like 4 years, I don't think. I'm like, you're one of the few people that actually have those.
Sometimes we get these amazing, magical Casamigos boxes that show up on our doorstep. I think my favorite one recently was there was a Casamigos hot chocolate crate that came.
Ooh, I just saw that at your house the other day.
Custom marshmallows, mugs, hot chocolate packets. I mean, it was insane.
I almost stole it. I
So
did.
Cassandra, I'm coming over.
But that's
Absolutely.
that's one of the cool things about the brand is every other brand is selling merchandise so that everyone can buy it and have it. We're very different in that sense. Like we handpick who gets our Casamigos branded merch. So you're special, Steve.
We love it. And that's one of the reasons why we love Casamigos so much. So it made sense you were the first person that I called when we started this podcast. And I said, we have to have you on the podcast. My husband and I both love Casamigos. We are huge enthusiasts and huge advocates. I even have a sign on my wall in our bar in Palm Springs.
Wait, I don't even have one. Can I borrow that?
We're really big fans, and I'm not gonna I'll let you take over because I know why I love Casamigos so much. But why don't you share with everybody why Casamigos is the best?
Well, number one, I mean, obviously the taste.
While you do that, I'm going to pour us some Casamigos.
So that's first and foremost. You have to have an amazing taste profile. It's also a very affordable price, so it doesn't really alienate people. You could be 21, you could be 65, and it appeals to, every demographic. But I think what really separates Casamigos apart from other brands is that it's never been a brand in the traditional sense. It wasn't like, oh, I want to make money off of creating something. Let's create something and see what we can get. It was very much the story of three very close friends, Mike Meldman, Randy Gerber, and George Clooney. And a lot of people know the story, but in case anyone doesn't, it was three friends in Mexico, all had homes together, and realized that they were drinking tequila they didn't love. And they were bonding over, being in Mexico and drinking and wanted to create something that they would all love. And it was never meant to be sold. It was never meant to be a commercial product. Each one in their own right is extremely successful, didn't need the added, obviously. It's a nice extra bonus, making $1 billion. Yes, $1 billion.
That's what they say, do what you love, right?
And that's, I think, the authentic creation of something where it's really three guys creating something that they personally love to drink and wanted to serve at their homes. And that's why it's called House of Friends, because truly it was meant to just be served at their houses for friends. And throughout the entire run of Casamigos since 2013, since we did start selling it, it's never been about like, let's make ads, let's be on a step and repeat, it was never about that. It was really about a lifestyle, that do you want to have this lifestyle of, you're with your friends, you're riding motorcycles, you're, Just like much more about friendship and a story. And my background was very much as a journalist, having been an editor at Cosmo, at Glamour, being on TV as a reporter for everything from like the Today Show to The View to E to CNN. And I think that's what's been so special about this brand. It was really authentic. It was organic. It's, if you have our product or if we're at a party, if you're a celebrity birthday or we're at a movie premiere, it's not because we're paying to be there. It's because we're all very like-minded and wanting to have this mutual experience over drinking tequila. And I think that's what's made it so special.
And that's exactly what Team Tequila is, which welcome, by the way,
Oh,
to
we
Team
get to
Tequila.
cheers.
Welcome to the House of Friends to Team Tequila.
We are drinking the Blanco.
Yes, the Blanco, which is the base for most tequila cocktails, is Blanco.
Was this the original, or did they start with a Reposado or an Añejo?
So the original was the Reposado. And what's so amazing is you see our bottle is very simple. It's a very modern, simple, clean, and that's basically what the taste tests would come in. And when we did go commercial, there's a lot of beautiful bottles of tequila, and those are great. It's nice if you want to collect and have beautiful bottles at the bar, but a lot of the money is going into the bottle. All our money goes into the tequila. So just because the tequila is $50 more does not mean that it's a better tequila. A lot of times that's going into a lot of the craftsmanship and stuff like that.
I have seen some beautiful bottles, and they are beautiful, and I have seen some really cool pieces of art or even chandeliers or candles or plants that have come out of the bottle.
Yeah.
And that is cool. And the
Yeah.
tequilas are usually good. But I think that it's nice that you can have a high-end tequila and it's back to basics and it is high quality.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's something to be said about not judging a book by its cover. Because I do think, as a woman, I window shop. And I definitely, if I'm picking out a great tequila for someone, I'm always thoughtful of the bottle.
Right.
But I want to say I've turned more people on to tequila through Casamigos, especially some of my mom friends, because I think sometimes people are like, well, I don't want to turn up on a Friday night. And I'm like, no, this is the turn up to turn down.
Yeah.
This is like watch your Netflix and chill instead of wine and chill. It's more like Casa and chill, Casamigos and chill.
Yeah. I mean, it was super important when the taste tests that year were really fun, by the way, in Mexico.
Of course.
Can't imagine.
Lots of stories I can't tell from those that year. But it was super important to take off that burn that people associated with tequila and make it a much more, a smoother taste.
This does not burn at all.
No
At
ethanol.
all.
So you're talking about the ethanol. What burns is that ethanol-y
additives,
taste.
a lot of that kind of stuff, and just giving it a great flavor profile. And so that was super important. And the Reposado was the first one. That's all the guys drank, Repo on the rocks. Mike, Randy, George, that's their go-to choice. And so, so having people have that experience, not the old-fashioned where you have to put a lime in the minute you drink the tequila, that's gone. And I think Casamigos has been a huge part of making that cultural shift where people are now choosing it because it really tastes smooth.
Absolutely.
So it's a huge change in what's happening. It's spiked the tequila market to such heights. We can't even keep up production. We're like sold out in half the country.
What I think is great about it is that the story, I've heard the story. I've heard George tell this story. I mean, I love the story because I do think some of the best things in life are free. And when I mean free, I mean amongst friends. When you spend time with people, they say time is the most expensive thing in the world because you can't, or expensive investment in the world because you can't get it back. But what they essentially did was invest in their friendships, which gave them back that time, which I love.
Yeah, I mean, they're such great guys, too. Who doesn't want to hang out? Who doesn't want to be one of those guys?
100%. They look like the cool kids that you want to
They're
be
the
invited
coolest,
to their lunch table.
That motorcycle, I just saw maybe a couple of weeks ago, there was a van or something where they were both on motorcycles. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's like George Clooney's on a motorcycle, and it was my husband goes, you want to be those guys? And we were like on our way to a meeting, and he's like, no, those guys aren't on their way. They're on their way to Mexico on their like Harleys, and you want to be them.
It's the definition of carefree.
The funniest thing is, like, in the early days, because we never did any ads, it was just that image on the Casamigos trucks. So in the early days, it was really fun. People would send me, I just saw the truck. I just saw, it was kind of exciting. And it got to the point where I'd be getting like 1,000 texts a day of people sending me, and I was like, okay, we're at a point now where I get it. Like the trucks are everywhere. But
Yes, you've seen the trucks. That is the idea.
but it's fun, and it's nice that everyone felt like they were involved, and excited to be a part of this, and that was what was really fun about it too.
So I have a question for you. For anybody that is listening to this and goes, wow, this sounds awesome. I'm ready to drink some Casamigos, but they're maybe not quite ready to just sip on it like the expert panel here. What would you suggest if they pick up this silver, the Blanco bottle here? What would you suggest for either sipping, or what's a simple way that people aren't going to get overwhelmed? Because I've seen your bartending skills.
Yeah.
And they're phenomenal.
I know, I've become a pretty good bartender.
They're phenomenal.
I thought I just played one on TV, but I've actually gotten quite good at it.
So
yeah.
one of my favorite drinks or recipes as an amateur bartender, but also a tequila aficionado, is a mule. And I like using a Zevia ginger beer because it's low in sugar, and I use fresh lime juice, and then I put in some tequila. No shaking, no stirring, maybe just a little, jiggle of the glass. Yeah. Exactly. And then you're good to go, and it's light, and it's refreshing. It's a good kind of, happy hour or maybe even poolside drink. But specifically with this bottle, what would you recommend?
So I'm someone who likes to keep it super low in sugar. And I think that's like a good thing.
You are in the right room.
Yeah. So it's funny, in Texas, the most popular cocktail is called ranch water.
Shout out to my home state.
It's literally like the skinniest marg you can have. It's Blanco with soda water and a splash of lime juice. And to me, that tastes like perfection.
I have seen it with cucumber in there before.
Cucumber, you can muddle in cucumber, jalapeno. I mean, there's so many options. Even if you do even a splash of grapefruit, some citrus that's not super high in sugar, as long as it's a fresh juice. I mean, there's definitely a lot of options, and there's a lot of like sodas, like club sodas now that have some flavoring
they have so
to
many
it.
Sparkling. They're zero sugar, zero calorie, but they're essence.
Yeah,
basically.
I think the more clean you keep it, the better. But that's not to say, on a really nice summer day, I do love like a watermelon mint or a strawberry basil.
Yes.
Enter Mark Strong.
Mark
But
Strong.
it also makes sense because they believe in minimalism.
Yes.
And keeping it simple. So yeah.
Which is also your brand. So
Yes.
you are House of Strong,
Now
they are
I
House
love
of
them
Friends.
even more.
Wow, that's
Because we
true.
believe in the same thing. So I love that.
Yeah, and we have a lot of recipes on our site at Casamigos.com that are very low in sugar. Anything we do, if it does have any agave, it's very little, just to really, because the flavor itself is so good. And if you use fresh juices or fresh fruits, it doesn't really add that much sugar.
I'm a big fan of your blackberry cocktail.
Oh, the blackberry
It's
ginger?
So the blackberry
Yeah.
ginger, because it is low sugar, but also you're talking about a low GI index. And a GI index is when you eat a specific type of carbohydrate, how much is it going to spike your blood sugar? And berries are much lower, and Mark is certainly the expert on this. But you want to stick with something that is not going to make you crash later, or is not going to make you have the drunk munchies later.
Yes, the side effects,
Yeah. When I first met you was in Vancouver, and you were the first person, because you did a
at the
tasting at the
mixology.
mixology.
Yes.
where
That
you
was
made,
fun.
Where you made, I believe you made the blackberry with the ginger, and you made, and you said, and I was like, oh, I need a lime. And you're like, oh no, honey. We do not. She was like, and then you were like, George prefers. I'm like, George prefers. Well, then what does George like? But it was tasty.
Yeah.
And I think there was the blackberry one I do make when they're in season, and people get freaked out because they're all like, you can't put blackberries in tequila.
Sure you can.
And I think most people need to learn the lime, citrus all day. Like, I don't do lime, but I do, we have here blood orange. I do grapefruit, especially when they're in season, juicy on a Sunday morning football season. I do drink tequila Sunday morning football, 100%.
That is what Sunday Funday football is all about.
I get my
Come
vitamin
on.
C with my grapefruit.
We
Yeah,
had a
Cass
lot
and
of
I
Sunday
spent a lot
Funday.
of time together at the Rams games this year.
We were had many a SoFi tequila encounter, which was amazing.
Season.
Well, it can be mezcal season. We also have this bottle of mezcal, which is one of my favorites. Rachel
Yeah.
brought this specifically because she knows that I am a
did.
fan. My headphones are the Casamigos Mezcal.
Makes me so happy.
Yeah, they're still kicking. They're still kicking. So finish your Blanco.
Oh boy. Woo! It's early.
Oh, this one's really
I love a liquid lunch.
And a liquid
Low
salad.
calorie.
That sound is basically the equivalent of popping a bottle of champagne in the tequila world.
It is.
Or in the Casamigos world.
Every head
Anyway.
turns when you hear that.
So the mezcal is also an agave-based spirit. It's just a little bit different than tequila in the sense that it's cooked and smoked underground. So it gives it that smoky. And what we did for the mezcal, which we launched about 4 years ago, is also wanted to take off that burn like we did with the tequila and make a much smoother tasting mezcal.
But mezcal is naturally, well, it may not burn, it's always going to be heavier
Yeah.
and smokier. And this is one of the things that we learned about in the last episode, is that the original tequila basically was a mezcal because they, in the 1700s, didn't have a way of extracting the agave without charring it. And then it was in about the mid-1800s that Salsa came along, said, let's steam it instead. And that is closer to the tequila that we know today. And now we have tequila and we have mezcal.
I mean, Cassandra was the first person to be like, I've tasted mezcals before, and granted, they probably weren't high-end good mezcal. And I was like, ugh, it tastes like a cigar. Like, I was like, ugh. Or like smoked pork, you know? Like, I like smoked chicken wings. Because when you talk about smoked tequila, I was always like, When I tasted Casamigos mezcal, it was obviously at Cassandra's house. She's a tequila pusher. And so I was
don't
like,
know what you're talking about.
And
So she's
she
a
was,
great influence.
yes. My husband loves her.
The original influencer.
And I tasted it, and I was like, oh, and she's like, no, we're just gonna sip it. We're just gonna have it. We're just gonna hang out. We're gonna like, our kids were upstairs playing. We were responsible drinkers. We didn't get like ish-faced. But I was like, oh. And she's like, you have a little sip. I'm like, oh. And I do think it's important when you are trying different tequilas like mezcals, blancos, reposados. In my opinion, if you can splurge and just save a couple of Starbucks runs and get a nice bottle, it saves you the headache.
Absolutely.
And also, too, just investing in the bottle is also just better for your health, too, just by the way that it's curated, right? So it's like, why put that in your body? Like, why get a terrible tequila that's not 100% agave?
Oh yeah, you definitely do not want to drink any tequila that's not 100% Blue Weber agave.
On this show, we only do 100% agave.
Yeah.
That is
But
true.
also
You do
the
it
mezcal
right.
bottle is very cool too.
It's
so
very
that
cool.
is
Can we
one,
pull it back up?
and still not expensive at all. But
love
every
the
single one of
texture.
them is a little bit different, which makes the mezcal bottles really cool. We also do a lot of cocktails now because not everyone loves a full mezcal margarita. So we'll mix like an ounce of mezcal and an ounce of blanco. And
Oh,
it's-
you can do that.
And
Yeah.
and it's a really good smoky paloma or margarita. And so a lot of people have been doing that as well.
Oh, I did not know this.
Yes, you can mix.
So on that note, if people are saying, hey, I'm going to be super adventurous, and they decide to go for the mezcal instead, because also, as we were talking about earlier, people window shop, and this is a really cool bottle. It's almost got a chalkboard effect or something.
Yeah, I love that
on
bottle.
it.
It's like the ship is, the bottles that float in the water from the shipwreck. Like, I love it.
So we have some blood oranges here. I could drink it plain, but I'm gonna try with the blood oranges just to see how it complements. And Rachel, what would be your ideal mezcal cocktail or concoction?
I mean, I personally love just like a smoky margarita where you add 1 ounce of Blanco, 1 ounce of mezcal with some lime juice. If whoever wants a little agave, whatever, it gives it that little smoky, or even with a Paloma, which is grapefruit.
Love that.
It goes well. And then blood orange, we use a lot across the board. We're not big on limes. Obviously, fresh lime juice as a base for margaritas and stuff. But in terms of bringing out the flavor profile, orange is such a good way to sort of make it taste even like the aromas and the flavors come out more. Yeah.
Yes, and you're getting your vitamin C. And
Exactly.
A, C, and E, I believe.
Well, Rachel, thank you for educating us on Casamigos, because I feel like if I didn't drink Casamigos, I definitely would want to go get a bottle now.
Seriously.
I would.
Well, in other news, now that we're nice and, I wouldn't say liquored up because we still have our wits about us, which you should. That's kind of the point of drinking high quality tequila, is that you do still have your wits about you. But what's going on in the world?
Well, let's see here. The Queen is not dead. I just want to.
The Queen is dead?
No.
The Queen is not
I
dead.
know she really was.
Everyone did because a blog decided to run a story about the Queen as an exclusive that the Queen was dead, and this is my issue right now. Everyone picks things up these days. No one wants to be left behind. So one person says it must be true. You have AP reporting this, Daily Beast. You have huge news organizations, and I was like, wait, what? So I go to the BBC because obviously they would know. There's a protocol when a queen dies. She's a member of parliament. I mean, there's a whole thing behind this. So I was like, how does some American blogger in his basement have an exclusive about the Queen?
Right. This is not the Kardashians. This is a branch of government.
Yes. And so I didn't believe it, obviously. My sister was like, oh, the Queen's dead. Oh my gosh, I wonder. And my sister starts going, I'm like, but there's no confirmation. And they're like, no, the Queen has COVID. And I was like, okay, great. And then I'm like, this is not true. This can't be real because who's ready to see Prince Charles be king? I'm not.
Rachel, you have a background in journalism. Isn't there a double confirmation rule? Don't you have to? This guy kept saying, my source, and he was very confident. This is Hollywood Undercover, and he doubled down, and he was very arrogant about it, as in, we break news, we know what the rest of the world does not know.
Yeah.
And reading that, he kept saying, my source, as in singular. I was under the impression that you had to get a double confirmation in journalism. Is that a rule of thumb, or is that a law that he broke?
So serious news outlets obviously cannot run with something without serious sourcing and fact checking. But that's not what today's times are about. I mean, I feel like every week there's a report that someone's this, that, it's like the Wild West of journalism, sadly. Yeah.
It's really weird. I feel like with the invention of maybe social media and, the need to know now, like I have an 8-year-old. She wants things to load quickly, things to happen quickly. She's a dancer and she wants to be on pointe shoes already in ballet. And I'm like, life is not, Roblox, the video game. Like life is, and I think we're in this we're feeding an insatiable beast of information. It's like an information rabbit hole, where it's like there's nothing you can stuff in that hole that's going to fill it up.
Well, outside of the traditional and reliable news sources, there's no checks and balances anymore. Anyone can go on social media or say what they want. So it's very hard.
Anything you want.
It's hard.
Well, but then we get, and we don't get into politics here at Team Tequila Talks
No.
because we want to drink tequila and have a good time.
Yeah.
But then you're getting into a conversation about censorship, and everybody's got a different opinion on that.
Yeah.
You know what else people have a different opinion on, and I feel like the world is very divided on this? Kim and Kanye. The drama just keeps coming.
You know what? You have to, Bethany Frankel, I don't know if you know who she is. She's a housewife.
I think everybody knows who.
She's a very
Skinny
famous
Margarita.
housewife. Yes.
How would people in this room not know the Skinny
I
Margarita
know,
founder? Whether
I
you
know.
love her or hate her, you at least got to know who she is.
Yes. So Bethany Frankel I follow her on Twitter, obviously. I get my sources direct from the mouths. And she said, you know what? How can Kanye not be doing this to sell his $200 album he just released, or his selling event in Miami that's happening? And she's like, because he does all this stuff with the Kim and the press and Pete and all this stuff, and then he releases this $200, album or concert or whatever he's doing, sold out and whenever. And she's like, it's just hard for me to, and I was like, that is hard to grasp, because it's true, he goes away, and then right when it's time to promote, either he's a marketing genius, and we've all ran with, maybe he has mental health issues, and maybe he doesn't.
Sure.
And maybe he's like, let that fly, do what you do with that.
Well, that's what Kim is claiming. She now wants a divorce. She wants out, and she's claiming emotional distress, and basically that he's performative. He's doing all of these stunts, more or less, and that could be because of an album. We've known that artists have done that in the past. Didn't Joaquin Phoenix do that one time?
He tried to, but it didn't work because he got outed. Remember, he was going to be a rapper? Remember that?
He made the appearance on Leno or Fallon or in character. I
think it was a rapper, I want to say, and his cover got blown. I mean, because
he said he was retiring from acting, and he grew out his beard and his hair. And so I think that there is an element, there is a strategy to this, because sometimes it does work. We're talking about Hollywood Undercover and the Queen and all that, and even though it's total bullshit, how many clicks did he get on his page? 20 million,
It's
probably.
his ad sells. He drove sales to his page. He didn't say anything for 24 hours. So that's like he was just watching his numbers increase. I mean, these things are all calculated. I mean, but think about Lady Gaga.
The meat dress.
That's what I'm saying.
The meat dress, among other things, but I think that's the most memorable.
Maria Menounos and I were sitting behind her at that award show.
How'd it smell?
In the meat dress. We were freaking out.
How did it smell?
We're like, is that really meat?
Did
like,
it smell like meat?
It was so crazy. I mean,
Beef
I love
jerky?
Gaga, and obviously, no, it was full on.
But did it
She
smell like a
wasn't
butcher
sitting
shop?
that long, I have to say, but it was quite interesting. Yeah.
But she would not be. I feel like Lady Gaga's, first of all, extremely talented. I've been on. My husband worked with her. Beyond.
Yeah.
My husband worked with her in a music video before, and the amount of work. So we love this is we House of Gaga. We love Gaga.
Yes.
But I will say she was a performative artist, and like she would do like these really niche performances in New York City where my husband's brother would go to. He was like, this girl, she takes computers, she dismantles them, and I feel like she's talented. She's a great singer. She's a good actress, and I feel like sometimes artists have to kind of step outside the box because we're all so distracted.
Absolutely. And
To get
artists, one of the reasons that artists are successful is because they have a unique spin and a unique perspective and a unique vantage point. Because if you have an opinion or a vantage point or a perspective and it's the same as everybody else's, then it's not special and then it's not art. So I think you have to take the good with the bad a little bit.
I just think Gaga's a genius. She knows how to
Yes,
create.
and I just listened to a podcast
drama,
with her
yeah.
and Oprah, Super Soul. That's an amazing effing woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's been through a lot. And I think, I don't know. I do think the celebrity and the press game and what's the saying? No press is bad press. It always rings true because no one's ever really gone under with bad press. It just elevates. And
But if you're Kim, I mean, you are past the point of no return. You're over it, aren't you? You're probably over the shenanigans. We've
But
talked
also
about
the
the
question: is it actually emotional distress? Because technically, you're in control of that. Am I right?
of your own.
Well, I agree. Now we're getting really. This is my speed. Now we're getting really hippie here.
Hey, mezcal.
As in, you cannot
Kicking in.
kicking in. You cannot control what happens to you. You cannot control other people. That never happens. But you can control the way that you respond to it, the way that you react to it, your emotional state. And even if your emotions might seem a bit outsized, it's not that they're not valid, or that it's not that they're not real, but they might not necessarily be valid. So I think you're right that there is an element of easier said than done, right? But at a certain point, do you go, you know what? I'm checking out. I'm over this bullshit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think her wanting to be considered a single woman is, I mean, I've had friends who've gone through divorces and some of them have been very polite, some of them haven't. I think her wanting just to return to singledom is, is something she deserves. I do think if you want to be single and your ex-husband's running around acting like a crazy person, it's like, no, I want the separation. I want it done. And I think using the thing like emotional distress is a great legal term to get a judge to be like, you know what, let me take a look at, because what's the definition of emotional distress? Judges, there's all about legalities, and I do believe that she'll probably get this at this point. I mean, he is making a case for her, kind of, and I hope she does. No one should be married to someone they don't want to be married to, and especially someone who's acting like a maniac.
Okay, so you're talking about judges, divorce. We all know that there are some states that are more favorable towards women, more favorable towards men. Some people treat property different. Some people treat children different. Sam Hunt, the country singer, his wife filed for divorce. She is pregnant, which no one knew about until she filed for the divorce. Now this happens, and a couple days later she goes, wait, never mind, withdraws the divorce. And in the divorce, mind you, she cited adultery. Turns out she turns around and files in a completely different place. I don't think we know right now where that is, but she clearly must have been advised that she was going to have a stronger case in this other place. And it's hard because we don't know exactly where those places are right now.
Right.
But that's a tricky one. I once know somebody their whole family life was in Los Angeles. Their family was raised in Los Angeles. Their kids were raised in Los Angeles. They went to school in Los Angeles. They had this huge estate in Beverly Hills, filed for divorce in Texas.
So I have a question. I'm not married. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Single and available.
Hey.
Yes, single and ready to mingle. So, does it actually matter where you file for divorce, which state?
Absolutely.
1,000,000%. And it also matters where you get married.
Yeah. Well, every state has different laws. in
That's
terms
correct.
Of like what you get if you split. There's so many different rules.
There are different rules for alimony and what is considered communal or joint property. There are different rules for have you been together 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. There are absolutely different rules, not just as it pertains to alimony and child support, but just who gets the house, right? And things like that. And there's absolutely differences in communal property division.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, my heart goes out to her anytime anyone cites adultery. It's a bummer.
Well, and
it's just a bummer.
It's a bummer that it becomes public because she didn't tell anybody that she was pregnant, and now she's thrust in the spotlight in the worst possible way. You don't want to be stressed while you're pregnant.
It almost seems like there should be extra taxation or something if you cheat on the woman who's pregnant.
Oh, no kidding.
So awful.
Punitive damages.
Because it's two people you're cheating on.
Right.
Technically.
But also, it sounds really smart to just stay married and just do your own thing.
Well, one of my husbands.
Okay, so now we're talking from our resident single friend, Mark Strong.
Okay.
Swinging has entered the conversation, which is all the rage amongst the Gen Zers, I hear.
Well, let me tell you, my husband friend has a saying. Hope he doesn't kill me. I'm not going to say his name.
You don't have to say his name.
But he always says it's cheaper to keep her. That sounds horrible.
Exactly.
It sounds pretty bad. It sounds pretty bad.
Because he's like to take away and split up all of these assets. Obviously, I'm talking about big money. Like Larsa Pippen and Scottie Pippen's divorce, right? They've been divorcing for like 5 years.
Oh,
You're talking about hundreds and millions of dollars in properties and stocks and businesses. He was slow walking it because he's like, I don't want to do it. Because his bank account gets low. They had no prenup. And so my husband's always like, no, just stay married forever. Just stay married forever. You get the black card. She gets the black card. And what do you need this year? What are you doing here? And he just feels like it's probably better to just, what you were saying, Mark.
together.
So, but, okay, here's my question then. If you were the female in the relationship, and don't act like this doesn't happen because we've all seen NBA wives and their drama is not silenced. They're very vocal about their drama. And there are a lot of people that say, I know my husband cheats on me. How do you feel if you're the wife and you just say, you know what? I'm good. I like my life. I like my lifestyle. And I'm going to do my own thing too.
I respect that.
I respect it.
too.
I'm not mad at it either.
I'm not. Let me tell you something. I've met many NBA
As long as both people are on the same page. If
Yeah.
someone's running around behind the back, that's obviously not okay.
Right. But I think if you understand the deal, like I've met many NBA wives, and some of them were like, veterans, like they retired. They're like, honey, if it's not me, it's going to be someone else. So I'm not going to give up my children, my lifestyle. I love this man. I've been in love with this man. It's a physical action, has nothing to do with our family. He doesn't want a divorce. He doesn't want to leave me. He loves our children. And I'm always like, this is when I get really like a little crazy when it's like, if they're fine, I'm fine.
I just think there should be no judgment to what other people decide in their own life,
100%.
their own marriage. You know what I'm saying? Like, why does that affect anyone else?
I couldn't agree more.
I always say, mind your business and stay out of my business.
Ooh.
Good night.
Love
Yeah.
that. New Instagram tagline.
Hashtag.
What I always say is that there's 7.5 billion people on the planet, and how arrogant would it be to assume that every single person views the world exactly the same as you?
Yeah.
And that applies to relationships because you think, oh, I would never, but you never really know until you're in those shoes and walking the walk. And I think whatever the situation is, whether that's, oh, someone travels a lot for work, or we're in a full-blown swinging relationship, or we like to bring someone home, or we spend time, we like our alone time, or whatever it may be, there shouldn't be room for judgment because nobody knows what a relationship is like behind closed doors.
True. And honestly, I say you miss out on friendships. And I have friends who get very like puritanical about who they hang with, and I'm always like, you're missing out on a fun time, girl, because what you disagree with morally, they give two shits about. It's like, she's fun, I like her, but because, I can't support their lifestyle, I'm like, but you're not paying their bills, so you're not supporting their lifestyle. We're just going to a bar to have Casamigos.
I was gonna say, I just drink Casamigos and I'm happy. I don't deal with any of this.
And don't
Yep.
involve yourself
Well,
in
on
this life.
that note, cheers.
Cheers.
Team Tequila, thanks for joining us. Mark Strong, Rachel Gonzalez, and all of our listeners.
Yes, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Salute.
We need to get our...
We need to get a photograph.
We need a